All right, Libby, we're live.
Great. Brilliant.
Well, welcome to this episode of Vestibular Talks. I really appreciate you here being with us talking about tinnitus or tinnitus. How it has two different names in here, I guess.
I know. There are different ways of saying it. I say tinnitus, but everyone says it differently.
I know. I said tinnitus too, but people sometimes say tinnitus.
Yeah. I think either way goes.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Will you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and your story?
Yeah, sure. So, my name's Libby. I'm from New Zealand originally. I got tinnitus 2 years ago. And since then, I've been on a journey of rediscovering what health means, not only from a physical perspective, but mental as well. And that's what's inspired Friends with Tinnitus, which is an online support forum for people trying to manage tinnitus effectively, not only physically, but mentally as well. So I've found purpose in that to help people to understand that, tinnitus is an opportunity for change. And in order to kind of flourish and thrive from it, you need to meet it as a friend, and that goes with any condition, really. Yeah.
All right. And if you don't mind me asking, how old are you? Because you seem very young.
Yeah, so I'm 28.
28.
Yeah, so I was 26 when I got tinnitus, and I had it prior at younger ages, only temporary though. And yeah, third time lucky. It's stayed around a little bit longer than the other two times.
Okay, the reason why I ask your age is because it's mostly common on people that are like maybe in their 40s or 50s. So
Yeah.
that's why I was quite impressed that you at such a young age you got it.
Yeah, no, I know. When I first did get it, I thought, well, what's happening? Like, this is usually what older people would get from hearing loss. But the way how it happened for me, I think it can be quite common in younger generations now. And my primary issue was noise-induced tinnitus from being exposed to loud sounds. So unfortunately, that was how it came about, and not necessarily the extravagant hearing loss that can come with it. So yeah.
So you got it from being exposed to loud sounds in what sense? Just like the regular everyday noise outside, or like maybe were you more exposed to like concerts, loud music? Like what was it?
Yeah, so the main trigger for me is being at concerts and loud environments with music. So the first two times I got tinnitus, which was temporary and only lasted a few hours, that was due to being at a concert. And it went away and it was fine. But yeah, 2 years ago, I was in an environment where it was really loud music and the sound quality was really poor. And I had the flu at the time, and I think there was a lot of contributing factors that kind of just aggravated this whole area. And yeah, so yeah, you don't realise the impact that loud sounds can have on you. But I think for the older generation as well, prolonged exposure to reoccurring daily noises, like whether you work in an industrial environment, or you're a musician, I think that ongoing constant exposure, even if it's not so severe, can cause long-term damage to your ears. And I think trying to raise awareness for that is so important, because you've only got these ears, and you can't replace them, and you need to look after them. So yeah.
So now there are different types of tinnitus, which some people describe. The one that I get myself is like a beep, like really loud. Or sometimes I get like a whooshing noise, like almost like wind or water in my ear. Like,
yeah.
How about yours? How is yours?
Well, I find that mine changes all the time. It really comes down to my temperament at that particular time. But generally speaking, I do hear the whooshing as well. Like at the moment, because I've got a little bit of the flu, I can hear it ticking over, and it sounds like fluid flowing through. But a lot of the time, I feel like now that I just relate it to a sprinkler of water dispersing in the ear. In the very beginning, it did sound like dial-up internet. It was all over the show, very pitchy. Yeah, but now I don't associate it to an annoying sound. I just acknowledge that it's there, and it's just this gentle kind of dispersing of sound in the background that I try not to give too much energy to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it becomes part of your environment. It becomes your daily routine in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So tinnitus, any other symptoms that came along with it, like any dizziness, any off balance sensation, anything that you also experience with that?
Well, not so much anymore, but very much so at the beginning. I was very anxious. I was very lethargic all the time. I was in a constant state of worry that I was going to be stuck with this all my life. And I didn't know really where to turn to. So I think the mental side effects of it were hugely significant, more so than any other physical condition. There have been bouts of dizziness and instability at times, but it's not constant. So the other thing which has led me to understand why I got my tinnitus was because of underlying other health conditions. So it helped me realize that I had sleep apnea, a TMJ disorder, and so essentially I find it a blessing in disguise that I got tinnitus in the first place, because I would have never have known about my sleeping problems and my jaw dysfunction as well. So other things did spring from it, but yeah.
So tinnitus, it's what we consider invisible illness, because people can see it. Like you might be hearing it right now and it could be extremely loud, but other people that are around you don't see it or don't hear it.
No,
so
exactly.
How has that affected your social and personal life?
I don't allow it to interfere too much. I allow my closest allies to know that, I'm going through this, and they're very understanding of it, and people are aware of it. So generally it's been welcomed graciously for everyone, and they've been very considerate of where I am if I'm exposed to anything. But if it's impacted me socially, I think I avoid loud environments at all times. Like I don't go to concerts anymore. I mean, there are plugs that you wear to concerts and stuff like that, but I avoid any loud environment at all costs, really. And even if I'm walking next to a really loud truck or a bus, I always just protect my ears, because I just don't want any further damage done to them. So socially speaking, I don't say, go to concerts as much anymore, but it's not really a major sacrifice. I still am able to enjoy music, just not at the really loud level that we
of course
enjoyed it. Yeah.
All right. And I'm assuming that when you first got it so chronically, like so in such an acute stage at the beginning, when it was just like probably like just very overwhelming, you probably seek medical advice to figure out like, hey, what's happening to me right now? Like, why am I hearing this thing constantly? So how was that experience?
So at the very beginning, I was immediately worried. Something in me told me that I had tinnitus. I didn't want to believe it, but I knew deep down, because my nana had experienced it as well. Okay. And I learned from her side effects that I thought, this is what I've got. But I went to see my GP, and he just brushed it off and said, oh, you've got the flu. Like, you've just probably got blocked ears from being sick. He's like, give it another 2 weeks and come back and see me. And so I waited, and I went to see him again, and it was still not, still hadn't gone away. And I knew that this was, more serious than what it was what he was making out for it to be. Anyway, he referred me to an ENT specialist, where I did hearing tests, and I did jaw tests and all sorts of things to articulate what was really going on. And they couldn't really offer me too much advice, but they did give me a diagnosis, obviously, that it was tinnitus, and that the best way to go about it was to focus on all areas of your life and start improving your diet, your level of exercise, reduce as much stress as you can, in order to fix the bigger picture, which is, you. And that was probably the best advice I ever got.
Yes.
So yeah, that's kind of how it happened in the beginning, and then from there, I decided to seek alternative therapies of help because mainstream medicine wasn't really cutting it for me.
Hmm.
When I asked my doctors how long would I have it for, they said, "Well, how long is a piece of string?" And that was not helpful for someone like me at that point of time where I was very anxious and worried. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and sought the help from acupuncturists, from naturopaths.
Nice.
Yeah, just trying alternative ways, and that was really the beginning of healing from the physical and the mental as well.
Yeah, it's funny. The reason why I laugh when you said that the doctor said how long is a piece of string is because they often use analogies like that that leave you
Yeah,
with more questions than answers. You're like, what? You're like, "Well, I'm here relying on you because you're the doctor. You're supposed to give me like a straight up answer of, hey, that's gonna go away in 2 weeks." And you're like, okay, golden, I'm good.
yeah.
But when they give you an analogy like that, you're like, what does that even mean? Like,
What do you need to do
how?
with it? Yeah,
Yeah, how do I work with this? But it's true, like you basically have to basically your each body is unique, right? So your body will heal at its own pace, and it will kind of like, for some people it might take weeks, other ones months, other years, but it's your own journey, right?
exactly. And it's what you make of it as well, and how you utilize the information that is given to you on hand makes all the difference as well. And at the end of the day, it's up to you. You are responsible for your own health and well-being, and it's important that you cherish it and look after that.
Absolutely. When you talk about this holistic approach, which I'm 100% on board, like proper diet, exercise, vitamins, things like that. Have you found anything other than maybe like a healthy diet? Because people with tinnitus, they often, or people with ear problems, often say don't eat a lot of sodium or a lot of salt, things like that. But any vitamins that have helped you, or any supplements that have helped you?
Yeah, definitely. There's a supplement called ginkgo.
Yep.
That's essential. I think it's the number one herb for anyone with tinnitus.
Yep.
So I take that every day, and I have so for the last 2 years. I also take B12 and B vitamins to help with stress, because there are so many outside factors that contribute to your stress levels, and it's trying to help sustain and manage them, keep them down. So that's really a big part as well. And also for me is trying to keep well as much as I can, because when you're not well, that's when the tinnitus heightens.
Yes, yes.
It gets out of control. So it's really important to sustain good health with like vitamin C, spirulina as well. I also take magnesium to relax, because I also find that helps relax the tension in the neck and the shoulders.
Good job.
All of this is all in the jaw. Yeah, all of that's related. So they all play a part. But those are the primary supplements that I take every day.
Okay, just for the record, I heard that zinc supplement or zinc vitamin, it's also extremely good for tinnitus.
Yes, you know what, I've heard that as well, and I haven't had a go of that one yet, but maybe I'll look into that sooner rather than later. Yeah.
All right. What about triggers? For example, swimming. So when your ears go underwater, has that affect you?
Not that I know of. No, swimming's fine. I think my primary triggers are, like, for instance, when I'm sick, that's heightens the ringing. And if there are stressful circumstances that are happening in my life, like work or personal, I find that that's when it aggravates the most. So I am always aware of how I'm feeling every moment to try and just ride with it and go with it and know that this moment will pass and it's okay. Because I think the thing with tinnitus, it's such a physical condition, but the mental strength of it can really help you work through it.
It's a mental game for sure.
It's a mental game, big time. So, you know, you can do all the physical things like supplements and exercise and meditation, anything like that, which definitely helps 100%. But, you know, when there's contrast that occurs in your life, you need to be willing to kind of just deal with it on a case by case and work through it quietly and gently. Yeah.
Yeah, especially because you're right. The reason why it's a mental game is because anything that is throwing us off our regular balance, it's especially if it's happening consistently, it makes our brain go into that fight or flight state. So when you're hearing this constant no invisible noise in your head, in your mind, you probably start to think like, is it just me? Like, am I making this up? Like, am I losing my mind? Or like you start to kind of like try to reason with it. You're like, maybe the noise is coming from somewhere. Maybe the noise is something is making this noise. So it's a very mental game because you try to make sense of it to
Yes.
until a point that you get to like, you know what, like fine, it is there and I'm just going to breathe and live with it for as long as I have to live with it.
Yeah. I think accepting it for what it is, and knowing that it part of it is out of your control, but there are elements that are in your control, and it's all about your attitude towards it as well. But like as you explained, I think all those kind of initial feelings, like, oh, is it gone? Is it there? Is it me or what? I think those type of questions definitely, like I experienced in the first 2 months with it. But if I could tell anyone, it does get better with time, and it's, you know, there is a silver lining through it. You just need to be patient with yourself.
Of course.
Yeah.
Have you tried flying since you got it? Have you been on an airplane? How
Yeah.
was it? Did it bother you?
So the first time I flew was about maybe 4 or 5 months after I got tinnitus, and I was very anxious. I went to the doctor in particular just to be like, I'm flying. Is there any advice you can offer? And they just suggested taking a nasal decongestant to ensure that the passages could, you know, equalise to the air cabin pressure. And they said not to worry really, because in my type of tinnitus there was no eardrum obstruction or damage. It's really just the ringing. So I was anxious when I hopped on the flight, but I was prepared with earplugs and nasal decongestion, and it was actually fine. In fact, the noise didn't even bother me because the planes are so loud. It just everything melts in the background. So it was fine really. There was a little adjustment to the pressure, but nothing major. And when I hopped off the plane, it was fine. So I know that's not the case for all people. Like my nana, for instance, she's got obstructed eardrum where there's a hole in it and she just can't fly at all.
Yep.
And it's the case for some people, and their pain must be debilitating. But if it's similar to mine where there's no obstruction and it's just the ringing, then you should be fine with flying.
Okay. Have you tried headphones? Like when you're listening to music, will you be able to put headphones on, or would that like maybe amplify the actual tinnitus?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of headphones, especially the in-ear phones.
Yeah.
And if I do want to listen to music, I only listen to it for half an hour at a really medium low decibel. Because it does aggravate it big time. So if I'm going to play music, it has to be distant in a speaker somewhere else in the room, or on, on the laptop. But yeah, I would suggest anyone that has headphones just to be very cautious and to not listen to music at loud volumes for such long times, because all it takes is 15 minutes for damage to be done to your ears, and it's not worth it.
No, I agree. And something that mine gets more aggravated when I get headaches. The headaches do something that amplify it, or when I get it that is really like beep, like really loud. If I'm busy throughout the day, I kind of ignore it. But if I lay down at night to sleep because everything is quiet, then it's really like hard to not focus on the beep. When that happens to you, when everything is quiet and you notice it more, what helps you to cope with it? What do you do in order to be like, okay, I'm okay, and you know what, it's there, and I'm just gonna keep on?
Yeah. Well, I think the most thing that I do that's most beneficial is using sound therapy. So that's just either using my phone or a small speaker that's away from me but has background noise. And I'm not a big fan of white noise. I particularly enjoy more soothing music like nature sounds or anything like that. Yeah. That's just a bit more calming. So I utilize that most of the time. But I make sure that I have a really good bed prep before I fall asleep. So I avoid watching TV close to bedtime, because that visual image of TV can stimulate your mind in a way that sticks with you while you're sleeping.
Yes.
So I try and have a little bit of downtime before going to bed without any interruptions, whether that's maybe reading a book or doing a mild meditation, just to kind of help you ease into sleeping. But yeah, sound therapy is really the way to go. I don't have to use it every night. It's just if I am struggling to fall asleep, that's the way to go. And I know how difficult it can be when things around you are so silent, and that's where you focus on sometimes. But it's about training your mind to focus on, the important things as well. That's really beneficial.
It's so interesting, because these type of conditions, for some people, like for you, for myself, many others, are kind of like an awakening. Like and it becomes a lifestyle, because we start to take care of ourselves. We start to eat better, meditate, do yoga, exercise.
Yeah.
And even though we're doing all the right things, we still experience the issue, but like or the disorder, but we're kind of like more able to cope with life, which in the other flip of the coin, it's aggravated at times, because like we're doing all these things daily. It becomes like our daily ritual, like healthy eating, healthy exercise, properly taking care of our bodies and our minds. But some people don't care. They just listen to extremely loud music. They smoke. They drink alcohol. They don't exercise, and they seem extremely healthy. So at times it can be discouraging, because you feel like, why am I doing all the right things, and people that do all the bad things are extremely healthy? But that being said, I kind of feel like, what, because this was an awakening for us. This was that opportunity that triggered that to kind of like say, hey, you know what, maybe it is daily discipline and daily consistency for us, but in the long term is making us more resilient and stronger. At least that's my opinion. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think every challenge is an opportunity for growth and transformation, and everyone sees things differently. It's hard. You can't compare people, and you definitely can't compare yourself to other people as well. Like, everyone has their own journey and their own lessons to learn in this life, and I think if you take challenges as an opportunity for change, I think that's amazing. And I encourage people to see contrast or negative conditions as these positive opportunities for personal growth and transformation, because you learn something about yourself along the way, and that's something nothing can really teach you other than the hardness that it comes with a condition like tinnitus or anything else. So yeah.
Something else that I wanted to say is I've met so many people from New Zealand and Australia that in the last few years have gotten tinnitus or vestibular disorders, and I've been very passionate about trying to figure out why that area of the world, why so many of the population in that area of the world specifically. I mean, I meet people from the States, from here, from Canada, like from all over the world, but I have met so many people from New Zealand and Australia that have gotten tinnitus and vestibular disorders, and I wonder, what is it that they might have in common? Do you think that is something that kind of like unites us, or you guys that live in that area, something in common that you guys share, or is just like, hey, life happens and that's just a coincidence that you live in the same spot?
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I haven't actually thought about it like that before, because I guess where I'm seated, I see that it's growing much more of a problem in the US and the UK. But I don't know. I guess it's all on perception. I've never really thought about it as a growing problem here. But I think perhaps in the Western world, where we are so caught up in working, like hours are long, there are so many more stressful factors in our life these days that sometimes we forget to reflect inwards, and we forget to stop and focus on ourselves and our own health and well-being, and we're always on the go. And maybe that's why there are certain areas, for instance, like New Zealand and Australia, where people aren't stopping. It's just work, 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 and trying to provide, and there's no downtime, or not enough downtime for the self. And maybe that's why, in your opinion, that it's becoming much more of a common thread in Australia and New Zealand. But I mean, I think it's happening globally as well. There's so many more pressures and demands that there's no downtime, not enough.
Yeah, I agree. And something that I was reading to the other day is that apparently the Wi-Fi signal for our phones, for the internet and stuff like that. So apparently the military developed the Wi-Fi signal back many years ago, back in World War II, to kind of like keep soldiers from the opposite army more submissive, and that was at 2.4 Gs or whatever. Now we're at 5 Gs, so which is double what that was back then. And what I was reading in the article said that some people are more susceptible to these waves of Wi-Fi or waves or energy that go across the world. So they might be giving us more tinnitus, more migraines, more different illnesses like MS and things like that, because certain people are more sensitive to picking up these signals. Do you think that also might have something to do with something like that, now that we're so modern and advanced and we have more technology around us?
Well, yeah, potentially. I wouldn't rule it out. There are so many contributing factors now. Like, we're exposed to so many different things that we can't even see. So yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't say no, but I haven't thought about it in that light before. I guess from my background, I understand that we are the creator of our own destiny, and we essentially create what happens to us in our life, and to understand why it happens is essential. But that's not to say that external kind of energies, like Wi-Fi, for instance, could have an impact. Because like you think of, my tinnitus is caused by sound vibrations, damage to the ear. So Wi-Fi is a type of vibration in a sense. It's transmitting energy. So it kind of does make sense, right?
The problem is that there's no escaping it because it's all around us, right? So we yeah. Something that you might find interesting is in some cultures, or some people believe that people that experience tinnitus are because they are more in tune with their astral body. So they believe that when you start hearing the beep or any noise that other people don't hear, is because you're more in tune with the universe, with what happens in the spiritual realm. So apparently people that have tinnitus also happen to have more vivid dreams, or happen to experience more deja vu. Like, when you live something and you're like, hey, I lived this before, or I dreamt this. So apparently people with tinnitus is believed in certain cultures experience more of that. What do you think? Is that your experience?
I've definitely heard that before as well. I would say 50-50 for me. I definitely think there's a spiritual element to it. Like you say, like I experience deja vu all the time, dreams are vivid, all of that stuff. And I'm very connected with the inner world, more so than anything. I definitely believe in some cultures that they say that 100%.
So it might be a blessing. It might be a gift that you have. We find it like a little bit of a disturbance in our normal life, but it might be an actual gift that you've been given to. So.
Well, that's what I say anyway. Tinnitus is a gift. People just need to see it. And there is a positive lining. With every negative, there is a positive. And it's different for everyone, but everyone does need to find it in themselves. You just need to go looking for it, really. And you can only find that in here, really.
True. Libby, what does the future hold for you now?
Well, at the moment, I go day by day, and I try and be more present in every moment to really enjoy it as much as I can. I no longer fear for the future with tinnitus because it's part of me now, and whether it stays or goes, it doesn't bother me. So I'm very optimistic about what the future holds for me, and I'll continue to provide as much support as I can for other people that have tinnitus, because I think the world could do with more positivity around it and more information around it. So for me, I'll continue doing that, and I'll continue. I'm writing a book at the moment, so I aim to have that finished and get that out to help more people around the world.
Would you like, Libby, to invite the people to follow your Instagram page or any other, if maybe you have like another internet website or anything that they can find you in, or videos or anything like that? Would you like to invite them to follow you?
Yeah, of course. So anyone can find me at Friends with Tinnitus via Instagram or Facebook. And then I've got my website, www.friendswithtinnitus.com. So yeah, anyone can reach out to me there, and I'm more than happy to help anyone. If you want to message me, I'll be more than happy to provide any initial information on what you can do to help your tinnitus, and help you manage it better, mentally and physically.
All right, thanks, Libby. Really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to do the interview and for chatting with me. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed this interview, and yeah, I hope we can catch up again soon and see how you're progressing, how you're doing.
Yep, no, that sounds great. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.